This interview that's live on the radio and TV right now will be posted to prisonplanet.tv tonight. It'll be on YouTube tomorrow. We'll repost it to Infowars.com. It's essential for our millions of listeners to take that video and to send it to press, send it to media, send it to talk show hosts, and say, hey, back in 2000, the CDC had a meeting, and in 2004 ordered a cover-up. And they covered it up, and now, a decade later, one of the people involved in the cover-up has gone public and is now being retaliated against. This is an incredibly important article. This is an incredibly important whistleblower. This is incredibly important information. We know, not just from Dr. Wakefield, who they've tried to destroy, but from Dr. Blaylock and countless other scientists and other government studies and secret British studies that were released last year that had been done 20 years ago, that a bunch of vaccines in a baby causes an autoimmune response, swelling on the brain, and retardation. And they call all the different disorders that the babies get autism spectrum. Look at this article out of MyFox. City mandates free medical marijuana for low-income residents. That's what the Berkeley City Council's doing. Sounds nice and friendly. No, it's a way to suppress people. That's why George Soros... See, just because I'm for drug decriminalization doesn't mean I'm for the drug culture. See the difference? Just because I don't want to throw people in jail for smoking marijuana doesn't mean I agree with the people that smoke tons of it every day and are zombies. That's what this is about. This is THX1138, Brave New World. Aldous Huxley's brother ran the UN. He said his book was about a real plan. He was a top British eugenicist who went public. Was a plan to socially control the public. They're controlling us with the fluoride, the GMO, the culture, the television, the additives, the chemicals. All of it is pharmakeia through the food and the water. It's in the water. And they're hammering babies at birth with 40-something different shots by the time they're 6 months old. I mean, I see people with like 1-year-old, 2-year-old kids now. I mean, a lot of them you can tell are ill and are sick and are in trouble. And I want to start crying because I'm watching like black people injected with syphilis for 47 years secretly. I'm watching people being murdered slowly. And I know I'm right. And they don't tell cops don't shoot your kids up. They don't tell FBI agents don't shoot your kids up. See, you all think you're part of the establishment? You're not. You're all being targeted. I want to give the floor now to John Rappaport of NoMoreFakeNews.com. And we've been carrying his articles daily on this cover-up since it broke a week ago. And we need to get this out to everybody about this whistleblower. Recap his name, what he said, what happened, how they fixed the data, how they know the vaccines are one of the big things with all the other environmental toxicity to push it over the edge. And we've got to get this out. And then I want you to speak to the big picture. Do you agree with me, it's prima facie, that this is part of the soft kill, eugenics, slow culling? Before they can fully cull us, they've got to get us ready. The IQs are physically dropping. You can look at the graphs, the illnesses, the cancers, the neurological disorders, all across the Western world, the sperm counts, the fertility. We are under attack. John Rappaport.
It's biochemical warfare. That's what it is, under very many different guises, as you and I have talked about before, Alex, and as you've been talking about for a long time. William Thompson, CDC scientist, good reputation, long-term service, is one of the co-authors of a 2004 study in the very prestigious journal called Pediatrics. Not only that, but he's got co-authors on the study. And if you look at least two of them, Colleen Boyle and Frank DiStefano, it turns out, lo and behold, that they're also high-ranking CDC executives. They're not just research scientists, and they're in charge of major vaccine safety programs and so forth, which really means PR, public relations, lies told about how great and how safe vaccines are. And yet, with a conflict of interest, they also happen to be the authors on this study, along with Thompson. So after 10 years of sitting on his secrets, Thompson is so guilt-ridden that he goes public. In a statement through his lawyer, Rick Morgan of Cincinnati, who is a whistleblower attorney. And the carefully worded statement admits in the first two paragraphs that, yes, vital data were omitted from that study in 2004. And if those data had been included, then of course the link between the MMR vaccine and autism would have been apparent. But that data was taken out. And what was that data? It was all about African-American male babies under the age of 36 months who had been injected with the vaccine and who had a significantly increased 300% elevated risk of autism. That's the data that was buried intentionally. All the authors knew about it, and therefore the whole CDC knew about it, because two of those authors, at least, were big-time executives there. So this was all covered up, and now this is not somebody coming in from the outside saying, I know that the data in this study, was cooked and buried and distorted. This is one of the authors saying this, a CDC scientist actually saying this, which would be big-time, major news all over the world if it were on any other subject. But it's about vaccines, which is the sacred, holy sacrament of the medical church, and therefore it must not be disturbed. And so what we're seeing is a huge media blackout all over the world on this subject. Like it didn't happen, never took place. The whistleblower never came forward. He never said, we omitted vital data, we distorted the study, it was a fraud. No, never happened, never happened, never happened. And as I alluded to before the break, Alex, news like this, even within the medical research community, where we're talking published studies and we're talking plagiarism and we're talking distortion and lies and so forth, if somebody like this guy Thompson steps forward as a co-author on a major study and admits fraud and that the protocol of the study was violated, that's a quote from him, suddenly, we're talking major investigations here.
We're talking a huge international scandal, totally, if it was anything else. But they've had a secret Trojan horse program in vaccines from the beginning, like Dr. Salk admitting to PBS before he died that they knew every ampule of the polio vaccine had SV40, super deadly cancer virus that literally more than doubled cancer rates in this country, and that's in their own declassified report. Again, this has been going on forever. It is so outrageous, and now we have another insider saying they covered up what it's doing to black people, because I've seen in the studies, hydrofluorosilicic acid, for whatever reason, in the studies we've had medical doctors on, is even worse for blacks.
So this is now a study on vaccines, okay? And this is the empire, the vaccine empire.
Exactly. It's just funny that they want it covered up about what it's doing to blacks, because it's hurting everybody. But for whatever reason, this stuff all seems to be tailored to really screw them up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is something that Thompson knows, his co-authors like Colleen Boyle, Frank DiStefano, they all know it. The whole CDC knows it. The whole research world knows it. We know it. It's all over the internet. I've been writing stories about this end to end for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. The world knows about it, but the press, the big networks, the big newspapers, the big wire services, nothing. Occasional little story here and there, but it's a total blackout. And that's what we have to break. We have to break that blackout.
This clip we're about to play is from 2004, when two studies, one of them is the study in question, Journal of Pediatrics, came out and actually said in this study, because he's being very guarded in his lawyer's release, I don't even want to say whitewash, but it's a major watering down. The disgusting study in question is one of two that actually said mercury is good for children's brains. Now, for those that don't know, mercury is one of the most studied heavy metals. It causes electrochemical explosions in the brain. The brain is electrochemical, highly chemical. It's the only heavy metal that causes a chain reaction similar to what cyanide does in the brain. It is so deadly. And you can look at major university studies. They have electron microscope videos we've shown of what just a micron of mercury does in pig brain or human brain. Lead or something else just kills the neurons it touches. This just like keeps killing and just eats through it and just causes a chain reaction, massive die-off, and it's being shot directly in the blood because they argue, well, tuna fish has got some mercury. Yeah, but it's bio-held. The gut is meant to be able to pass most of that out. It's when it's injected into the blood. And, of course, there's other things as well. But that's a small part of it, the Thimerosal. This is from CBS News, but this aired all over the country. This was a local Austin report, but this PR piece aired all over the country saying mercury is good for you. Folks, this is how dumb they think you are. The government's putting up illegal cell towers to steal your data. We have the documents. We made national news last year with it. They're in CBS News today saying with the FBI, we don't know who's putting these cell towers up. It's not the government stealing your data. Now, that again, this is how dumb they think you are. Just like they're telling you mercury is good for babies' brains, here is the clip.
Mercury-containing vaccines may help, not harm kids, according to 2 new studies in the journal Pediatrics. There have been widespread concerns that mercury-based preservatives in vaccines might impair the neurological development of children. These new studies suggest that the opposite, that the preservatives may actually be associated with improved behavior and mental performance.
Now, that's 2004. We taped that off CBS in Austin. And we played it probably 500 times here. Now, again, one of those 2 studies is now being exposed, obviously the other's a fraud too, as a total lie. Well, folks, I don't need a whistleblower to tell me mercury isn't good for my brain, okay? Investigative journalist John Rappaport.
So if you think mercury is bad, if you happen to eat it in fish, which of course the government warns you about, don't you? Mercury-laced fish. So now imagine that it's being injected into the body of a baby whose immune system is far from being fully developed, and whatever immunity the baby has is being bypassed because of the injection that goes directly into the body, thereby spreading the mercury, passes through the blood-brain barrier, and goes directly into the brain. And there does all the things that Alex was just talking about, setting off a virtual electrical explosion. And so now this child with a mother, with a father, and we're now talking about untold numbers. They're saying 1 in 68, 1 in 56. It's all over the place. The child suddenly goes dark, leaves the world, was happy, was playful, was attentive, alert, there, excited about a new life. And now suddenly, with this load of vaccine, all of a sudden the parents look at this child and the baby, is not there anymore, not to return, totally different, forever, cut off. And now you've got these Nazis at the CDC and in research labs, whether they're literal or figurative, but Nazi minds who are saying it's not a problem. Don't worry about it. We don't care. And by the way, mothers, if you want to get compensated by the government for what you say is a vaccine injury, because you can't sue the manufacturers anymore because we passed a new law making that impossible, then we're going to make this a nightmare for you to go through government regulations.
And they did it all premeditated in the 70s, creating the Vaccine Damage Fund with billions in taxpayers to make the courts secret, if you can even get through it, to give you $500,000 for your brain-damaged child. All a premeditated program, literally tens of thousands of times bigger than injecting black men, women, and children with syphilis and keeping it secret. A premeditated program to brain damage tens of millions of children, bankrupt the medical system, ruin lives. Literally, you got a little happy kid, Hispanic, black, white, Asian, whatever it is, and it's boys, because our blood-brain barrier is not as strong as girls. Any medical doctor will tell you, why is there 7 or 8 times more autistic boys than girls? Because boys aren't as tough as girls. Women got to have babies. Any medical doctor will tell you a woman can take more bullet wounds, anything. A guy can fight better. think better in a, complex situation, anything. Women are tough as nails, folks. They live longer, everything. It's getting so bad now, women are getting it. Baby girls are getting it now. But little black boys, little white boys, happy, 18 months old, get that third round, have a convulsion, and then the cops come and say, you shook your baby. That's why blood's coming out their nose. But the good news is so many of them have the blood come out of their nose at school when they get the shot that they don't get to take their kid. Imagine how, and of course the cops don't know. They come and they say, yeah, blood's coming out this kid's nose. They must have knocked their head up against a wall. No, they didn't do that. You gave them a shot so deadly that their brain's bleeding, and it's bleeding so much it's coming out their sinus cavity. I mean, my God, we might as well line these kids up and shoot them in the head, John Rappaport. That would be more moral. What the Nazis did, lining kids up and blowing them away, was evil and horrible, but it was more moral than doing this to them, John.
This is a lifetime of torture. That's what it is. It's a whole lifetime of torture. And as the child gets older, things often get worse. Because it's not just withdrawing from the world. Now the child can begin to get violent. And then things are dangerous around the child. And the parents are desperately trying to hang on to the child and figure out what they can do. What can they do? What can they do? The government has no answer. The government is actually inflicting this.
Look at all these crazy inner city kids charging police for no reason. I mean, and people talk about him. They say, yeah, it's like he wasn't there. I'll guarantee you most of these people getting killed are mentally retarded, John.
You want a real pandemic, not a fake pandemic. This is a real pandemic.
We're going to create an article with all of your articles in it and the video about this today and email it out to everybody. I'm going to come back, John. I get really emotional about this because I've studied it. It's so cold-blooded. I want the secret Tuskegee experiment to stop. They're murdering our children on purpose. You're not going to hear MSNBC with all their race baiting tell you that the CDC purposely suppressed the fact that black boys, that's just one area of the study, it's across the board, the MMR shot alone, one of dozens, tripled their chances of autism. Major whistleblower who wrote the study says it was a cover-up. Now, that broke a week and a half ago. We knew about it before it broke, and there's a blackout on it. And literally, I got physically angry during the last segment playing that clip where they say mercury's good for your child's brain. I'm not in my comfort zone, okay? I'm not in some trance putting up with this. This is a normal response to being assaulted and them lying and saying it's the law to take vaccines. There is no law. See how the whole thing's immoral? And they're like, hey, we're trying to protect kids. Hey, you brought 36,000 Nazis back to run our medical system after World War II. Shut up. You've been caught doing thousands of secret tests and killing people. Stop acting like we're weird for not trusting you. Of course there's evidence that vaccines could help people.
They want to take this up into some sort of intellectual stratosphere where very polite tea-sipping conversation takes place among scientists, blah, 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 who then report to the press, who whitewashes everything. But outrage is the response. That's it.
Exactly. And we're not saying there couldn't be technology in vaccines. They always phrase it like, oh, you don't believe vaccines? No, if something's a really bad pathogen, we had a trustworthy medical system, it was tested, or people were told it could be dangerous, but it's a cost benefit, then I'd do it. No, this is a secret Trojan horse program like everything else these criminals pathologically do. I know I'm ranting, John. This just upsets me so much that we know we have eco-science written by the White House science czar about how they would do it with water and vaccines. We have Bertrand Russell, the big eugenicist, saying we're going to use vaccines in the 20s to brain damage people and control them. I mean, this is their plan. They have murdered these children's brains. They're killing people with the Gardasil shot, and we're just here taking it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's absolutely right. That's what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. And people are hypnotized and brainwashed into it. And they think they can't do anything about it, but they can. There are exemptions. You can refuse the vaccines. There are ways to do this in every single state. They tell you there are not, but there are.
Because they're lying murderers. And I want to go further. How do we go all the way around this and circumnavigate it and start arresting the people involved? Start going after because we've got to frame it in what it is. It's more secret government testing discovered in vaccine program. And they call testing the murder and maiming of the population.
That's right.
Just like they got caught in the hepatitis shots putting HIV in it in the 70s in the gay population of New York. That's declassified. I mean, you'd be crazy to take anything these people push.
They should be arrested, convicted, tried, in jail, or on a desert island for the rest of their lives, or whatever the max possible sentence that a murderer could get is. That would be justice. That would be the right thing to do. Now, the way that we got to start doing this is to break the blockade of this media blackout and to force people to recognize that the media are just another arm of the government and the vaccine manufacturers to keep people from knowing what's going on. They're complicit too. There's blood on their hands. CNN, CBS, NBC, ABC, all the networks, all the wire services, New York Times, they've all got blood on their hands.
That's right. I want to come back and talk more about how we get the story out to people. A major author, major scientist, major respected, comes out while he's in good standing and says what we already know. You know mercury's not good for your child's brain, not to mention the pathogen that's in there that causes the autoimmune response. The mercury and the aluminum is a small part of it. I mean, this is a scourge, folks, the children. It's on purpose. And if this ever comes out, they're all coming down. That's why there's a blackout. Now, I take kids getting brain damaged on purpose real serious. I mean, I'm in a you-know-what kicking mood right now. It's completely normal that I'm having a very aggressive response right now. This is normal mammalian activity that if you learned somebody in the village was putting poison on apples and giving them to kids, and everybody was wondering why so many kids in the village couldn't talk and were sick, you'd go find out who messed with the apples, and they would get drawn and quartered. And I don't have some instinct to want to kill people. I love everybody except scum. And I know about the eugenicists. I know about the tinkering and manipulation that's going on. And John Rappaport, what does this say, investigative journalist, about the elite that they get off on sitting back and socially engineering and cancer viruses and pathogens and nanotech and flu simulants and all the other Bill and Melinda Gates with mosquitoes that inoculate you so you can't escape it, and vaccines in food. I mean, it's just, and McDonald's, fake food, GMO, social engineering. It's all admitted. What a group of evil freaks. Everything they do, creating Al-Qaeda, letting them murder Christians. Who are these people, and how do we get this report out, John Rappaport?
Well, these people are evil. I mean, what else is there to say about it? They like being evil. It's not just that they feel guilty about it or they feel compelled. They like it. That's what they do.
Yeah, I know what I want to do.
It's hard for people to understand that, but that's the deal. They want to inflict torture. They want to kill people quickly, slowly, every possible way.
Exactly. They love each child whose life they've ruined who'll be in diapers when they're 45.
That's right. And so people can't, fathom that. Well, how could that be? They must be trying to do the right thing. No, they're not. Yes, there are many at lower levels, people who are brainwashed, following
useful
orders.
Idiots, yeah, exactly.
But at the top, we're talking about people who are completely evil. And they escape because people can't believe that they exist. That's what we have to get through to make people understand. Well, there couldn't be somebody who's that evil. Oh, yes, there is. There are a number of such people. They're that evil and
Joseph
even more.
Mengele was brought to the United States and then brought to South America because the military-based people got so mad at him. So was Klaus Barbie. All of them. I mean, the stuff Joseph Mengele did to kids, folks, is nothing compared to what this does.
The whole euthanasia movement in mental hospitals and so forth was really pioneered in America before World War II, and it was sent over to Nazi Germany with blessings and
that was the Nuremberg defense. The Nazis got up and laughed and said, "We learned all this from you.
We learned it from you." That's what they said.
Yeah, how dare you? Yeah. Go ahead.
right.
I'm sorry. I'm ranting.
So no, this is what we're dealing with. And now we've got this story, this chink in the armor that blows apart a fraudulent study, major 2004 study done at CDC that shows that the authors cooked the data, they buried vital data, and thereby proved, in heavy quotes, that the MMR vaccine was safe when it was actually creating autism and horrible effects on children. One of the co-authors, William Thompson, has admitted it. He stepped forward. He's released a statement in writing through his attorney, Rick Morgan. And now we have a chance to destroy the media blockade and force them to reveal themselves as the scum, true scum that they actually are. This is a chance that we have to get this story out to the world.
We're going to take this video from the live show, put it in a video tonight, have an article tomorrow morning that I'm going to push to go viral tomorrow. John Rappaport, we'll do it tomorrow. Thank you. I want to have you back up. Sunday with me to follow this more and to have some of the whistleblowers on. I want to get Dr. Blaylock on to break it down as well. This is a big deal. We've got to use this person having a conscience to help save these children. John Rappaport, thank you so much.